25% of the landmass of Trinidad is made up by the Northern Range, a vast forest-covered mountainous region spread over the northern tip of the island. It was once part of the Andes Mountains of Venezuela, a mere 11 kilometres away on the island's west coast. Visitors from around the world come here to experience undisturbed forest. But for how much longer? Squatter camps are slowly creeping up the hillsides of the Northern Range, turning forest into housing. They're pushed further out as the capital city, Port of Spain, continues to grow relentlessly, driven by the economic prosperity of a booming oil industry. But the oil wealth doesn't reach most islanders. This is the community of Bonaire North. All have settled here illegally. Unable to go anywhere else, they live under the constant threat of eviction by the authorities.
Over the last 14 years, the population of the community rose dramatically, from approximately 50 to right where it is now at 400 households.
Communities like Bonaire are growing at an alarming rate, and the government is building new housing to provide shelter and prevent the invasion of the Northern Range by the squatters.
In a small country, there's a limited land area, and with a growing population, there's a great need to provide shelter as one of the basic requirements of life. So that you find that around the capital city and the north of Trinidad, where most of the jobs, that there's a great need for housing. So the government has tried to develop some long-term plans and some poles of settlement, areas where settlement has been encouraged.
There's a shortfall of approximately 100,000 houses, and the majority of those are for poor people. And the houses that the government build the poor cannot access those houses. So what happens is they squat. And when they squat, they find themselves being chased around to be evicted from lands that they occupy, which is the government state lands and which are lands set aside for housing.
But one squatter community is providing an alternative solution. The residents of Fondes Amandes have transformed their environment, replanting trees in an area that was stripped bare by squatters. Akila Jaramogi now runs a replanting project in the squat of Fondes Amandes that has turned a bare mountainside into a thriving forest once again. In 1982, as a young girl, Akila decided to single-handedly stop the destruction of the forest and learned how to plant trees.
We need a healthy hillside. We need a healthy environment. And for sure, you cannot get a healthy environment without trees. And for us, it's all about planting trees, having a balanced ecosystem, and also flora and fauna, as long as that is balanced. And again, the people, the human well-being being a main factor in this whole game, again, we would have a balanced country.
At first, it was a volunteer effort, but perseverance paid off when she finally got financial support for her work 9 years later. And in 1991, the Fondes Amandes Community Reforestation Project was born.
I think without our input into environmental conservation in Trinidad, the hills, the ridges, and so you would see growing desertification happening in Trinidad, and this is what we don't want. And today, schools and community people and visitors all over the world come in and, get a chance to see how community effort can make a big difference, in transforming the land. And I really feel happy about what we have been doing and seeing in Trinidad here that our project is being used as a model project.
The success of the Fondes Amandes project has received the support of the government. They recognise the danger of not stopping the destruction.
It would appear that the average rate over the last several years could be as great as 0.8% per year. But if we lose forest cover at 0.8% per year, then during the lifetime of many people there'll be nothing. That would be a serious problem that would have major consequences for human well-being.
But Aquila's land still officially belongs to the government.
I see it as my land. I see it as a community land, and so far, I feel good and hopeful that one day we will have something on paper to show, well, okay, you're the owner of this land. But in the meantime, our heart and soul have been in this land.
A thriving tourist industry only adds to an already buoyant oil economy. To the first-time visitor, Trinidad would appear to be booming. But the reality is, illegal settlements are still creeping into the northern range, while elsewhere, peering down over downtown Port of Spain, are the new mansions of those benefiting from the island's economic prosperity.
I will say to the government that if you find yourself unable to meet the demands for housing, give the people the land and help them with whatever resources you have available, like the aggregates and other things, which is in abundance in Trinidad and Tobago. We have enormous quantities of those things. Make those things available for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. If they would do that, we will be able to alleviate and deal with many of the problems that we face in Trinidad and Tobago.